All right, today we are diving deep into Roblox's absolutely mind-blowing third-quarter earnings. We're going to deconstruct the growth engine behind one of the biggest entertainment platforms on the planet, and trust me, the numbers, they're pretty staggering.
Okay, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and start with the big one. Just look at this number. Over $1.9 billion. That is how much virtual currency users bought in a single quarter. It's a metric they call bookings. Just let that sink in for a second.
And just when you thought that number couldn't get crazier, get this. That $1.9 billion, that's a 70% jump from the same time last year. I mean, that is just explosive growth at a scale that's almost hard to comprehend.
So the big question is, how in the world did they pull this off? And what does it all really mean? Well, here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the record-breaking numbers, then we'll break down their user and content flywheel, see how they're pouring fuel on their creator economy, decode their kind of unique financials, and finally, take a look at what's next on the horizon.
Okay, first up, this wasn't just a good quarter. It was a truly record-breaking one. We're talking about numbers that didn't just beat expectations. They completely blew them out of the water and got everyone on Wall Street talking.
And if you want to understand just how big their ambitions are, you don't have to look any further than this quote from the founder and CEO, David Baszucki. They're not just playing for small wins here. Their goal is to capture a 10% slice of the entire global gaming market. That's huge.
So, what's the engine driving them towards that massive goal? Well, it's something they call a flywheel, a really powerful self-reinforcing loop. Let's break down exactly how this thing works. So the flywheel, it all starts with people. Just look at the growth in daily active users, or DAUs. It absolutely skyrocketed to over 151 million. That's a 70% jump from last year. You can see it right there on the trend line. To put that into perspective, every single day, a population bigger than Russia is logging on to Roblox. Wild.
And get this, it's not just that more people are showing up. They're staying longer and playing for incredible amounts of time. We're talking nearly 40 billion hours spent on the platform in one quarter. And this chart just perfectly illustrates that flywheel effect. You get more users, and those users are spending way more time in the world.
So, what is everybody doing for all those billions of hours? Well, of course, you've got your massive viral hits, like Steal a Brain Rot, which at its peak had 25 million people playing at the same time. But the real story here is the variety. Engagement outside of the top 10 games grew by 58%. And the whole content library is just getting deeper and fresher, with 50% more new experiences breaking into the top 100.
And this explosion of new content, well, that leads us right into the next crucial part of the flywheel. See, Roblox isn't just a game, it's a platform built by its community. And the company knows that, so they're pumping their success right back into those creators. And when I say pumping success back in, I mean it. Roblox had a goal for its creators to earn over $1 billion in 2025. Yeah, they hit that number in just 9 months. That's a truly life-changing amount of money going directly to the developers who are building this universe. Now, this isn't happening by chance. Roblox is actively making it a better deal to be a creator on their platform. They've rolled out a new creator rewards program, and this is the big one, they increased the DevX rate. That's basically the exchange rate for creators to cash out their virtual Robux for actual real-world money. They bumped it by 8.5%. The logic here is pretty simple, right? Pay creators more, and they'll build more and better stuff, which just spins that flywheel even faster. Okay, so we've seen the massive user growth and the booming creator economy. Now, let's follow the money. This is where things can get a little confusing for people. But don't worry, we're going to make the unique economics of this virtual world crystal clear.
So, to understand Roblox's financials, you really only have to get this one key term: bookings. Put simply, it's the total cash value of all the Robux that users bought in a quarter. You should think of it as the purest measure of their sales.
And now that you know what bookings are, this chart makes a whole lot more sense, right? That record-breaking $1.92 billion we saw at the start, that represents a massive wave of users buying virtual currency to spend on the platform. But this right here, this brings us to the central paradox of Roblox's earnings report. If their sales, their bookings, are absolutely exploding, how on earth did they report a net loss of over $257 million? This is the question that trips up a lot of people.
So the answer to this puzzle is all about the difference between accounting and actual cash. On the left, you have net loss.
Because of some specific accounting rules, when you buy Robux, Roblox can only recognize that sale as revenue very slowly, over about 27 months. But, and this is the absolute key, the cash from your purchase, shown over on the right, hits their bank account immediately. That's why their operating cash flow was a super healthy positive $546 million. So the big takeaway is this: even though they have a loss on paper, they are generating a ton of real cash right now.
So, with an incredible quarter in the rearview mirror and a ton of cash flowing in, let's take a look at how all this momentum is shaping their predictions for the future. And here's the company's own guidance for the full year. It tells the exact same story we just figured out. They expect huge bookings. We're talking over $6.5 billion, and really strong free cash flow, over $1 billion. And at the exact same time, because of that weird accounting rule, they're forecasting a net loss on paper of over $1 billion.
Of course, the future is never a sure thing. Their own reports point out some key factors to watch. The huge opportunity is generative AI, which could totally change how games are made. But they're also facing risks, like new regulations all over the world, more competition from other big tech companies, and the challenge of tricky international markets like China.
And that brings us right back to the big question. We've seen this powerful flywheel in action. More users leads to more engagement, which funds a booming creator economy, which builds more awesome content, which, you guessed it, attracts even more users. So with all that momentum, with all that cash being generated, can they actually pull it off and capture 1/10 of the entire global gaming market? Looking at these numbers, it's a question you have to take very, very seriously.